Hey Bears, Eric here, and now the anti-censorship crowd wants censorship. Not even kidding, okay? Apparently Nintendo has once again outraged gamers, and this time it's for not censoring something, which is wild. I log into YouTube and I always go through my list and I'm like, what are people complaining about today? And for the last few months, it's been anti-censorship stuff, the Stellar Blade stuff, the idea of DEI coming in and changing stuff in video games, changing the writing of video games, localization, changing stuff in video games. They've been so angry. When I say they, I mean channels like YellowFlash, channels like Hypnotic, all of these grifty channels. They've been so mad that games have been censored. They just want the uncensored games. They don't want art to be censored, apparently. That is, unless it's a queer character, and then queer stuff needs to be censored and these characters need to be put back in the closet again. Apparently that's the case. And I'm not even kidding here. So let me give you the lowdown on this. Nintendo Paper Mario Remake is coming out. It's a very anticipated game. A lot of people are excited for this. And apparently the character of Vivian that was censored 2 decades ago, changed by localization in a lot of the English-speaking territories from being a character that was definitely under the queer umbrella, right? A character that was a boy character that dressed with traditional clothing and sentiments that were expected from women or girl characters, definitely a queer character, was censored in the American version. The identity of that character was pretty much erased. And nobody batted an eye at it. Now it looks like localization and Nintendo has made the decision to reinstate this identity and to actually give more context on it, to give more story to it, flesh it out a bit. But now these guys want censorship. Now they want this to be censored. Now it's a problem. You see people like YellowFlash going through, pulling up a list of like all the different gender identities in Japan and going, see, they have like 8 different genders, and in America they chose to go with this gender identity, and all of a sudden now it's like concern trolling. Now he cares about gender identity. Now he cares about the nuance of different types of genders, and it's hilarious to me. And this is absolutely hilarious to me because about a month ago, he made a video being upset, and I talked about it here on the channel. He made a video being upset that they were censoring harassment in the game. So he was like, how dare they go in and remove harassment of a certain particular nature, like catcalling? How dare they remove that from the game, even if that was an embellishment on the translation by localization, even if that were the case, because he didn't dive into detail about that. It was just the simple fact that it was being censored. That was enough for him. The fact that they were actually going to censor that, he's like, I'm not going to buy the game now, right? So then this comes out, this news about Vivian, all of a sudden now the nuance of gender identity is important to him. Keep in mind, this is the same community that was upset about Stellar Blade censoring costumes, censoring blood. This community seems to be like, oh, we don't want localization coming in and taking away the identity and the fidelity that the original creators had for these games, for these characters. But when it comes to a queer character, where the identity is sort of not embellished on because it was over 2 decades ago, when they come in and they go, hey, we're not only going to go back and revert back to like what the intention was, we're actually going to go even further and give this character more of a story, something that actually it's meaningful within the context of the game, something that actually talks about the character in a way that may not be demeaning. Because let's be clear here, even if this character were just a drag queen, that's all this character was a drag queen. It is not like YellowFlash or Hypnotic or any of these channels would give a shit about that. They wouldn't. The nuance between what a drag queen is versus who a trans person is does not matter to these channels. You cannot tell me, there's no way I would believe that if this character were a drag queen or a crossdresser, that somehow that would change their opinion of this character. It would not, which is why they're immediately going to like, oh, well, this character is trans, but in Japan, there's 8 different definitions for who a person is when they're not assigned to their gender identity, their binary gender identity. All of a sudden, now they care about that. Save me with that bullshit. Miss me with that bullshit. It's not even a real thing. It's all a virtue signal. It's all a concern troll. The reality is that they are okay with censorship when it is censoring something that they don't like. They're okay with censorship when it is a queer character, when it is a woman, when it is a person of color. They're okay with that kind of censorship. Just like the way they're going after Assassin's Creed right now for having a historically known, well-known samurai and trying to look through the little nuances of like whether this person's a retainer, whether they're this, whether they're that. Like they're doing everything they can to somehow remove a character from a game, change a character in a game, censor a character in a game, censor the intention of the creators because they don't want that character there. They're doing everything they can to make that happen. Bullying online, putting out pressure online for this, cheering it on. And here we have another case where censorship was removed from the game. They said, we're going to put it out. We're not going to censor it. But somehow that's a problem. Removing censorship is a problem. They're not the only ones jumping on this train. I kid you not. Libs of TikTok posted a tweet. Let's look at the tweet and then wrap this up. Here's a Libs of TikTok tweet. It says, Nintendo has gone woke. I mean, were they already woke according to you guys? Weren't they already woke? Weren't they already going in with localization? Wasn't gaming heading in this direction anyway? Why are we acting like this is a thing? It's a grift. Calling everything woke is a grift. It's pretty much confirmed now. And if you're still denying it, then you are living in a fantasy world. They just introduced a transgender character in a kids game. Vivian discusses her gender identity and her sister's transphobia with Mario. She says she realized that she was their sister in the Japanese version and making it localized for English-speaking players. So not censoring the intention of the character. So pro-censorship. Like they always tell on themselves. These folks always tell on themselves. They are not anti-censorship. They are anti-diversity. They are anti all of the things they complain about, the DEI stuff, the inclusion, people's voices being heard. They are anti all of that. The reality is they are pro-censorship when that censorship aligns with their personal beliefs. You are either pro-censorship or anti-censorship. Once you enter the gray area when it comes to censorship, once you go in and go, oh, but this, that, like cherry picking stuff, then you cannot take a hard stance on either one of those, which means anytime you speak out on either spectrum of that, you are speaking from a place of bias. And it's very clear to me, and it should be clear to you guys, that these folks are extremely biased and they're lying to you about it. They are not anti-censorship. They are anti-diversity. They are anti-everything that they complain about. They would be totally okay with censoring that if they had the opportunity to do so. Because here they are crying for Nintendo America to take a character, put that character, that queer character, back in the closet and censor it because they don't want to see it. They always tell on themselves.